This is the ultimate sandwich bread. Let's make it.
Welcome y'all to Robyn on the Farm. Today I have the ultimate sandwich bread recipe to share with you. This bread is made with milk instead of water, so you're gonna have an enriched dough, which means that you're gonna end up with bread that's soft and fluffy, and it'll have a finer grain, so it's great for cutting. This is my husband's very favorite peanut butter and jelly sandwich bread, so it's great for spreading. It's not gonna fall apart on you. It's basically everything that you want your sandwich bread to be. For this recipe, you want 1 1/4 cups of milk. I just popped this into the microwave for 1 minute, so you want it to be warm, probably about 100 degrees. And to this, I'm just gonna add 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm just gonna put it all into this measuring cup because this is how I always make this recipe for some reason. And it's just super simple. It's like no fuss, it's so easy. To that, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you want, but I'm using 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Next is our yeast. This is my active dry yeast. I keep it in the freezer, I get it out, I use it, and I put it back in the freezer. It'll last forever this way. So 2 teaspoons of yeast. You can also use instant yeast if that's what you have, but 2 teaspoons of yeast right on in there. Now we want 1 teaspoon of salt. So just throw that in there with everything else. Okay, give these ingredients a really good mix. And we're gonna move over to our flour. I'm gonna use bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour, but for sandwich bread, bread flour is really the best option. You'll want a flour that has like 13% protein. That'll just give it the best structure. So I'm gonna use 3 cups of this bread flour, and I'm gonna just put it into my mixing bowl. Okay, now that we have all of these ingredients mixed up, I'm just gonna add these to my mixing bowl with my flour. Just pour them right on top of there. Okay, now I'm gonna turn my mixer on and I'm gonna let this knead for 6 to 8 minutes. And I'll show you at that point.
This is what you want your dough to look like as it's kneading. If it's sticking to the sides and the bottom, just add about 1/8 of a cup more of flour until it starts to pull away.
Time to get it out and check it out. It looks great. Look at that. It's tacky, but it's not sticking to my hands. I can work with it. Has great elasticity. You can kind of stretch it. So this is exactly what you want your dough to look like at the end of the kneading cycle. The kneading did its job. This is perfect. So now the next step is to let it rise. I'm gonna throw it back in my bowl. I got some nice warm water on this tea towel, so I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna let it sit on the counter for about an hour. Sometimes when you use milk instead of water, it makes your rise time a little bit longer. So I'm gonna let this rise for about an hour and then I'll show it to you at that point. It's time to check on our dough. Yep, there it is. That's what you want it to look like. This is after the first rise. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna punch down the dough. I hate doing this because I like how beautiful it looks when it's all risen, but it's time to punch it down. And then gonna turn it out onto your counter. Now, this recipe makes 1 loaf of bread. I forgot to mention that. So this is just 1 loaf. So now it's time to shape it into a loaf and put it into our bread pan. So what I like to do is I like to press, roll, and tuck. That's how I shape my loaves. So I'm gonna press it all out, just like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna roll it up, and then pinch the seam together, and then tuck your ends under. There's that one, and that one. There we go. Okay. Looks good. Okay, I have my cast iron bread pan. I oiled it up really well. You're just gonna take your dough and throw it into your bread pan, just like that. Okay, looks good. Now, I am just gonna leave this on the counter just like this for about 45 minutes. All right, so here is my dough. You can see it's risen above the top of the bread pan and it is ready to go in the oven. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees and I am gonna bake this for 30 minutes. So here's our bread. It looks amazing. It's so soft and fluffy. I can tell it just feels so good. It's gonna make really good sandwich bread. So normally you want to wait and let your loaf totally cool off before you cut into it. Now that is especially true for sandwich bread because the texture is so important. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut into it because I want to show it to you, and I think it's going to be good no matter what. If you are looking for a great sandwich bread recipe, this is the one to try.
I'll put the recipe for this ultimate sandwich bread down in the description. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.